Now this morning we have two speakers for you who will discuss investment plans for your businesses. Our first speaker is Karson Nance of Stiefel Wealth Management, and our second speaker is Randy Vale of Vestwell. As you may recall, Vestwell is our partner in offering our 401k chamber program to members. Without further ado, please welcome Karson Nance.
Hey, can everybody hear me? Yeah, cool. All right, so really the goal of today is I want to arm y'all with some information and have a conversation. Pretty much everything that we're going to talk about today is consulting. Everything that we're kind of like considering, we need to kind of flesh everything out. It's individual based. So just kind of get a feel for how many folks are business owners or work with business owners. Okay, excellent. So let me give everybody my slides are just reflections of this little packet that I put together for everybody. This kind of covers some general themes that we can look at and think about. There you are.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I didn't see where Lisa was. You got one already. Okay. This is everything that's in my slides. Really, the nature of this is to take it home, look at it, think about it, and see what we're going to go for. There's a handful of different strategies that I want us to just begin covering. And I'll put some of these up on the screen. I forget how she said control T. Let's see. Okay, we'll just. Where's the present? Yeah, cool. All right. All right. What Randy is going to end up digging into a little bit deeper is the chamber-sponsored 401k program. So I printed off some information just about general ideas around why we even want to consider offering a retirement plan if we don't have one, or kind of how that plan is conditioned for the needs of what you're trying to go through. Of course, in general, the main purpose of a retirement plan is to attract, retain, and retire employees. But the reason that there's so many incentives around that is to give reason for businesses to adopt these types of plans, right? And so you can make contributions to these qualified plans, and they will reduce your expenses, will reduce your income for the business. So a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today, retirement plans is one of them, but really it's an overall kind of strategy of how can we be the most tax efficient, how can we plan for the right things, and which taxes are we trying to be most sensitive to. As a caveat, these strategies, they need to be like funneled through your CPA or accountant. So I'm a wealth strategist. And so what I really get passionate about is helping businesses find ways to leverage themselves in a really cool way, take advantage of laws that are on the books, provide a little bit more of a safe net for the business, retain employees, and just kind of have an overall strategy of how can I get the best out of the income from the business and plan for the next stage, okay? So we're going to go past this first one. Like I said, a lot of the stuff in this packet, it's going to be better for you to just kind of sit down, take a look at, review. The second one is going to be the retirement plan. Okay, so when we talk about how to really customize your retirement plan, it's going to take into consideration what are the goals of the business, what are the goals of the business owners, what are the goals of the employees. And all of these levers can be attuned to what your goal is and how much money you want to set aside and how you want to offer these types of benefits to which types of employees. The reason we kind of cover all this is to come back to the center point of it all comes down to what your goal is. all comes down to what you're trying to achieve for the business, how you want to incentivize, how you want to keep people, how you want to share that value, and so that it makes sense for the business to support that. A lot of times I hear folks say, I can't put together a 401k type of plan. That's going to be really expensive. It's going to be really hard for us to try to manage all that. And I don't want to be anchored to paying that every single year if we have a bad year. And so part of what this is in retirement planning is a very consultative approach again, right? And so we have to understand what the goals of the business are, where you want to go, where you're at right now. And I guarantee you that there are ways that you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have the right type of plan that mimics what your business goals are and how you want to treat your employees and how you want to incentivize ownership in these types of scenarios. So, as you kind of are considering these things, please review some of these items to, see how it's going to work, and don't be intimidated by just some of the rest of the things that maybe we don't know. Okay, so let's just take a step back from retirement planning and look at some different scenarios around where we might want to be strategic. All right, so I deal a lot with businesses that at the end of the year, it's very common to make a large capital purchase, right? Either you're maybe going to buy some equipment or you want to write off some sort of particular type of expense to get that income down, right? Because you want to be as strategic as you can in capturing something that's going to retain value for the business and also reduce your tax exposure. So a lot of folks will buy equipment, okay, whether you need it or not. I was talking with one of my colleagues yesterday. They're dealing with an oil field service company, and they went in to start talking about retirement planning, and there were a dozen enormous trucks, full tilt, brand new trucks out there. And it's like, are y'all planning a new expansion? It's like, no, it's just the end of the year and we got to spend it on something. That is a decision that, again, is going to be very consultative to what the nature of your business is and where you want to see growth and where you want to see retained value, right? In a lot of cases, investing in equipment for the business is the right choice. But there's also, I just want to have us begin talking about, well, yeah, you might get the initial tax benefit of a deduction on that expense in that given year. But whenever we think about what is the overall value, how can we do a blend of long-term value and short-term value to try to get the most growth and benefit out of the business? And so if you're weighing the options of making a capital expenditure at the end of the year versus making a contribution to a tax qualified plan, well, we can kind of see where's that, which tax are we really trying to get at, right? We're trying to reduce that income in a given year. What is our capacity to do that? And usually, it's going to be kind of a blend of everything. We can set aside some money into a qualified plan. Maybe we can set aside some money into purchasing equipment. And there also is kind of like this middle ground here where we can consider too is how can we defer or completely eliminate in some cases our tax exposure in the future. Okay, so we have the immediate hit and we've got the future benefit. So as we're kind of thinking about where can we have the most leverage inside our business, these are things to consider. Like which tax are we wanting to be conscious of? And the reason of these retirement plans, we were talking about that a lot today, and Randy's going to dig into it a little bit more, how they're constructed and architected and everything. So the reason that you want to do that, of course, is for the future benefit of the tax. So you can make it's actually both. So you can make your contribution as deductible. It's going to grow tax deferred. And at the point in time, whenever you want to start using your portfolio to supplement your income, it's taxed at a different rate than whenever you are working. So that's why the incentives exist in there. So, what are we on right now? Let's go to the next slide there, Randy. I have just some scenarios here. Yeah. Okay. So again, everything is very consultative. It's very customized for what your needs are, how the plan is set up, how old the owners are versus how old the rank and file employees are, when you can make additional contributions, how you have to consider profit sharing models, which are really a great benefit. But you have to take into consideration all these kind of different factors as we look at this here. This is just more information on some of the ways that retirement plans are constructed for the benefit of your business. So as you go home and you're sitting and you want to do some light reading, you can take this as another option to just kind of look at scenarios. Okay, so again, we're just talking about scenarios today. I just want to plant some seeds of interest so we can continue our conversation. Does anybody have any questions or curiosities on anything that I've just touched on so far?
I have a question.
Yeah.
And it just occurred to me. We have members who are part of nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
Is it still a benefit to them to set up 401k programs?
Yes.
Yeah, so oftentimes nonprofits use a different plan type called 403b7 or 403b9. So everyone says 401k, right? But it's another type of qualified plan. Generally in the marketplace, the advantage there is to retain and recruit talent from other for-profit agencies, right? So oftentimes you'll have religious entities or 501c3s that want to establish a benefit so that they can compete in the marketplace to say, hey, we have a retirement benefit for you, right? So yeah, they can do that too. We also have solutions.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Okay. These next couple slides, when we're talking about establishing a new plan or making adjustments, especially for establishing a new plan, there are tax incentives around how to do that. Which side do you want?
Am I going too fast?
Yeah, go back up too.
Yeah.
Next one over. There should be like a frequently asked question. It's okay.
Okay, we'll go. I'll show them on the
Yeah,
test.
no big deal. So I've got a Q&A here printed out about how can you leverage some of those tax credits as you're starting up a plan. And Vestwell has an amazing tool that they can actually calculate that specifically for your business needs of, well, how much can I offset by the government helping me with this through tax credits. So a lot of that is going to be customized to the type of plan. Safe harbor is a fun word that we'll end up learning about later. They will help create the tax incentives and be able for you to access those credits. So I just have kind of another scenario here for us to look at. This is a fun chart here. We've been talking about 401k, and Randy touched on 403b7. These are all just tax codes, right? These are just kind of ways that you can get at some of these types of incentives for your business. And I have helped us by looking at kind of a broad spectrum of the types of plans that you could consider based off of your business type, off of business size, how you're incorporated, okay, and where you can take deductions and where you can have your future benefit. For example, a Roth IRA, Roth 401k, you don't get the immediate benefit like we were talking of that tax year deduction into a plan like that, but guess what? Any money that's put inside there grows tax-free, and whenever you want to take money out, also not taxed. So as we're kind of considering which tax benefit are we trying to take advantage of and why, it's going to be a blend of all this. The size of your business. Are you single owner, single employee? Are you just one person doing the whole thing? Well, there's a particular different type of structure that you might want to consider. Say, for example, a solo K or a single employer pension. And when we're talking about these different types of plans, there's different types of contribution limits that you can enjoy inside these types of things. They can grow in different ways. And so, again, keep on hammering this down, it's customized. It's consultative to what your business actually needs. There's not a one-size-fits-all for everything, but we'll talk about the benefits of what a 401k can really make to your business. And we can, decide what's the best choice for you. Because really, ultimately, the point of all of this is to make your business healthier, for you to keep more money inside the gas tank, extend your runway, invest back into the business, rather than just writing a check at the end of the year. There's ways that we can be more strategic. Yeah, go ahead.
So even if you're like a single member business, you can create an account for yourself and get a tax benefit. Okay.
That's correct. Yes. And, depending on how much you would want to contribute to a particular type of plan, hey, welcome, come in, is going to kind of inform what's the best choice for you. Be it, like I said, solo K, or a single employer pension, all these types of things. So, yes, there are advantages for single owner businesses. Good question.
Thank you.
Anything else? Let's carry on. Okay, next one here. If you are aware, there you go. If you are over the age of 50, you can put more money aside. So as you're kind of thinking about where do I put the different buckets of these investments, if you're over 50, you get an extra step up is the term on that. Take a look at that, enjoy that. Next slide. This is another helpful reference of how to roll over, how to look at and consider the Roth option. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Again, you don't get the immediate year tax deduction for any contributions made into that, but man, what an amazing tool to grow money without tax implication on gain and to not have any taxation on the income that comes out of that. So, great tool. Utilize that, think about that. And a Roth option is something that can be incorporated into your 401k plan. A lot of times these plans will have different buckets, if we'll just kind of call it that, the regular investment and then maybe a Roth option within it to carry over. I've seen business owners that kind of use that Roth bucket as a way to kind of pay bonuses sometimes. And so you can make contributions to that. Really great option to leverage. All right, carrying on. All right, this next little option is an often overlooked little spot. Okay, do one back. Do you have the insurance slide in there somewhere? Didn't see the end. I guess we're using the old one.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yep.
All right. Please refer to your handy dandy handout. Okay. What we have here is an option talking about Key Man Life Insurance. Does anybody know about Key Man Life Insurance? Have you heard about this? Awesome. Of course, great. Thank you. This is a really interesting way that you can put money aside and let it grow and actually use it within less confines as what you would in a normal retirement account. Yeah, for some reason it didn't make it into the final slide, but it's, I don't know, mid or halfway through our deal here. All right, so check this out. Life insurance. If you just think of it outside of a business context, you kind of have a couple different ways that you can approach it, life insurance. I'm sure everybody's kind of familiar with term life insurance. You pay your premium and you get that end benefit, death benefit of that. You don't keep any cash in between there, okay? Your premiums go specifically to satisfy the death benefit. Whole life insurance, different definition, different type of vehicle that you can utilize inside there where you not only get the death benefit, but you're able to accumulate cash inside the middle of that plan. That cash, whenever it grows, is considered an expansion of the policy. It's not considered capital gain like you would in a regular investment. And any money that's taken out of that life insurance plan is considered a loan against the policy and is not considered ordinary income. Whenever you adopt that for a business need, now we're talking about something altogether different. Key man life insurance or key person life insurance basically says if one of these key individuals that is pertinent to the daily operations of my business, maybe a CEO or another C-level type of person that, or maybe a very important sales driving person, if they were to be eliminated from this business, that's going to create a vacuum. We got to be able to solve that. So the key person life insurance policy allows for you to have a company-owned policy that you can fund in case some sort of emergency needs to happen, you need to replace that person. But here's the interesting part about it. It's a whole life policy, which means that you can accumulate cash inside that. Why would you want to accumulate cash and have a certain type of policy that the business owns? Well, when we're talking about tax implication, remember we've got the options of making contributions or buying equipment and stuff where you get that annual deduction. You don't get like the future benefit. In the case of insurance, right, we can make those contributions inside a plan and you can have those invested into mutual funds. So any sort of growth that happens inside that cash value, not taxed. And if you need to take money out of it for business expense, a lot of folks are using this as working capital inside, so that's not taxed either. So it's a great way that you can shelter your income inside the business and then use it whenever you need to. A lot of the other stuff that we've talked about with these retirement plan contributions, you're kind of locked up into when and how you can access that cash because it's designated for retirement. This is an option where you're not beholden to the 59.5 rule. You can put as much money into it as what your policy can stipulate, and again, that's customizable, there's rules, but you're not limited on the contribution like you are in some of these others. And you can take the money out tax-free whenever you need to use it for a business expense. So if your business is in a place to where you want to consider, maybe you've got another valuable partner that you want to try to build something around, key person life insurance is a really interesting way where you can be strategic for a future tax perspective and then be able to access that cash within the business without tax growth. Does that make sense? Cool. Any questions? All right. Moving on. I've put in some, let's go past that one. There we go. So I've put some quick tax facts in here, second to last page in for you. These are just helpful to have. If you'd like a digital copy of any of this stuff, reach out to me. I can send you bits and pieces or all of it. But tax laws are always kind of getting refreshed, right? So it's good to see where the contribution limits are, what are the different things that you can be aware of. Little tax facts here. I'm not going to go into that because it's a little bit dull for before 9 in the morning. But keep that together with you. I've also included a rollover chart, something to consider as if you already have a plan established, or if you have, for example, an old retirement account from a previous employer and now you're stepping out on your own, you want to see what can I do with this? A lot of folks don't know that if you have that previous plan, you can consider maybe rolling it over into a new type of vehicle, and sometimes you can even take loans against that to help run your business. So if you're worrying or wondering about ways that you can kind of leverage your existing nest egg within the business, rollovers are an option that you can consider doing that. And also with what we have partnered with Vestwell, it might make sense if you're running an existing plan to consider some of the benefits of cost and administration duties and things. If you wanted to like offload some of that or maybe even save a little bit of money, you can consider rolling over into another plan outside the management. Okay, the last little thing, I don't know if this made it into the final slide. Let's see. Final page. That's it. It did not. All right, that's okay. On the very back of your handout, there's something that I wanted us to consider as a cash management tool. A lot of times I run into businesses and they're running very well, they're making all of these changes, they're growing, but they're keeping an insane amount of cash just inside a regular bank account. And if, depending on what the business needs are and how that account is structured, there can be some vulnerabilities with how that cash is managed. What I always ask businesses to do is like, well, let's take a look at like, what does this cash represent? How much time does this cash represent? And what are your intentions on utilizing this within the given year? If we can kind of parse that down to a certain degree of like, well, let's keep like 3 or 4 months of cash maybe circulating, this type of thing. Now we consider other ways that you can grow your cash with tax benefits. One of those tax benefit cash growth opportunities is investing into municipal bond fund. Anybody know about municipal bond funds? Okay, so the reason that you would want to do that is because, well, you're not going to be taxed at the federal level. And a lot of times, there are specific funds for the state of New Mexico where you're not going to be able to have tax on that state implication as well. Whereas if you were to just buy a municipal bond, well, you're kind of like anchored into what that maturity date is. Like they'll issue a bond at, I don't know, 5%, and you got to hold it for a year, 2 or 3, whatever it is, like the rules around that. Rather, you can invest in a fund, which think of it as a big old pie, and every slice of the pie is a different maturity date, and you can kind of build an accumulation of different types of bonds that match what your incentive is, and you get liquidity inside a bond fund. So a lot of folks will utilize a municipal bond fund for their cash management because you're going to get that tax benefit from the growth of any sort of cash in there. And it can just kind of like rotate and keep on earning some moderate income without any additional tax exposure. So as you're kind of considering places where, again, multifaceted of what's going to make the most sense for your business, where you're at, where you're wanting to go, what are you kind of exposed to that you want to be cognizant of, that's another tool that we can use inside that. What else we got? Any questions, anything curious about what I've covered so far? Okay. I'm going to, with that, hand it off to my friend Randy Vale. I'm going to hand out some of these things.
Grab my notes.